Hi.
Hello, hello. Hi, Sansit. Can I actually ask a question before we start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is about the exam that we have on December. So would it be a possibility to make the timetable little more to be on the daytime here in Finland, since I have two small kids around the house. I have a 2-year-old daughter and 1-month-old baby boy. So it's the night times are a bit hectic in our household. So I would appreciate if that would be an option that I could do the exam during the daytime. I understand that it's nighttime for you in US, but
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
Yeah. Thank you, Vesa, for your question. Certainly, I will give it some consideration.
Hmm.
But let me go over the exam process the way it is for most people today, because there hasn't been as much discussion on that. So let me. To respond specifically to your question, uh, have you seen the instructions on the final exam?
Yeah, as I remember, it was that there is a timetable for 3 hours, like uh, 6 p.m. till 9 p.m.,
Yeah,
if I recall it right. Yes.
and the reason for that evening time is that I have to personally supervise it. You know, you
Ah,
you
okay.
you
All
you
right.
have to be live on Zoom in order to
Ah, okay.
preserve the integrity of the exam.
Ah, okay. All right. All right.
So
Okay. Okay.
that was the issue, that if I have to be present, then if it's in the daytime there, then it's nighttime
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the other possibility is that there are three administrations of the exam. There's one in December, there'll be another second exam in January, and a third exam in February. So if this particular date doesn't work for anybody, you can choose the other two dates.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just, putting it out there. But thank you. And I'm going to put your mic off for now because there is some background noise. But if I can ask everybody to put off their mics. Okay. So, welcome everyone, and I'm going to start off. This is getting to be the last 3 weeks of the autumn semester, and it's a busy time for everybody. So, I just want to go over the rest of the 3 weeks in the Moodle, so that we all know what the expectations are for the next 3 weeks. Again, I'm making a request. Today there's only 12 of us. I hope a few more join. But if anybody is willing to put their camera on, it helps to provide some feedback to the speaker. So thank you, Henrika. If you can put up your camera. Yes, thank you, Pierre, for doing that. And thank you to Carla and Henrika as well. And to Emmy, thank you for doing that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and take you to Moodle, which I'm sure you have access to as well. But let's start off with today, 22nd of November. We're going to discuss the case presentations of three teams on L'Oreal USA, as well as we'll give a chance to anybody who's written case memos to tell us if they have any unique aspects that were not covered in the videos. So that's the agenda for today. By tomorrow morning, your time, I will have evaluated all your presentations and provided you feedback right here where you've uploaded all your memos and videos. So that you'll get the feedback by tomorrow morning. And then the next case which is on Verily Life Sciences, is due next Monday on the 29th, and we are going to discuss it in Seminar 3, which is on December 7th. So 2 weeks from now. Remember, December 7th happens to be a Tuesday, so that's a little different from our regular schedule of Monday night. So it will be on Tuesday night. And then we have a webinar 4, which is not a case discussion, but we're going to have some articles and an application of AI and machine learning to Uber. So that will be our last session in Zoom on the 13th of December. And then we have the exam, which you can see is, there's not a lot of information yet, but it's on December 16th. And some details on the exam are available in the exam instructions under exam info tab. So when you click on that, you can go to this particular page, and let's go over these exam instructions. As I said before, there will be 3 administrations of the exam. We don't have yet the dates for January and February, but I will consult with Luke, Trevs, and then put those up for you hopefully in another week or so. So you can choose, if December 16th is not convenient, you can choose one of the other dates. So this is going to be an online supervised exam, and you'll need to keep all these tools open: Zoom, Moodle, Microsoft Word, and Turnitin. It's an individual assignment, right? The important thing is in paragraph 3, where, during our Zoom sessions, I've left it voluntary up to now for you to put on your cameras or not. But for the final exam, we need you to turn your cameras on, everybody. So, this is a question of ensuring that just like in a physical classroom, you will have a supervisor. This exam will also be monitored and supervised to ensure academic integrity. So you should make sure that you don't lose connection with the internet, and you should be saving your work while you're writing it. So, and I'll be there on December 16th, so you can, if you have any issues that come up, you can always send me a private chat message. And basically the content of the exam is that you're going to be given a new case, very similar to L'Oreal or Verily Life Sciences. You would have done 3 cases by the end of the semester. So we will give you a new case, but you can only get access to it at 1800. And then you are given 3 whole hours to read the case, and then you have to write the answers to some questions. Okay? So it's not like writing a case memo like you have, or doing a video presentation, but you have to, there will be some specific questions, essay type questions on the case, and you have to answer those. And then once you are finished, you have to upload it into Moodle. Okay, so let me pause here. Since Vesa brought up that issue about the final exam, I thought it's better to go over all the parameters. Let me pause and see if anybody has any questions or clarifications I can offer. So again, Vesa, I'm just thinking that, for this final exam, December 16th, I have volunteered to do the supervision myself. For the other 2 exams, which are to come up in January and February, the makeup exams, I will try to get Luke to supervise one of them, and then that can be done in Finnish time during the daytime, so that you don't have a issue with family obligations.
Okay, thank you. That sounds quite good if that could be a possibility. Thank you.
Okay, okay,
Really appreciate it.
okay. And Taru says the exam info is not currently available. Okay, I'm sorry if it's not available, it will be made available very shortly along with the dates, the two makeup exam dates. So Taru, I will make a note of it and make sure that the exam information is available. But just on the basis of the page I shared with you, if there are any questions or clarifications, can you feel free to ask me now, or do you want me to share the document again? All right. So we are done with the exam. And then with the schedule as well, you all have the remaining 3 weeks, what's due at what time, any issues or concerns with the remaining dates. There's the case on Verily, and then there's a live session on AI, ML, and blockchain. So those are what will happen in the next 3 weeks, and then the final exam. Okay, very good. So if there's no more, I see that we have some more participants. That's always good. I'm going to now switch gears to the case on L'Oreal. And we have groups 4, 5, and 6, which prepared video presentations. I did post the links and I sent you a message yesterday. I don't know if you had time to review the cases, but we'll play them here again just to refresh our memory, and then we'll go into a critique. So, is there anything else you wish to bring up before I show you? I share the video on group number 4. All right, then I'm going to now share my screen and the video of group number 4. But again, if you cannot hear or see the video, then please do let me know and I'll stop it and make some adjustments. So here goes.
And we are doing the case analysis. And we are the group number 4. And we are doing the case analysis for the case company L'Oreal USA. I have teammates here with me, Salli Kaitila, Sura George, Swart Lisbeth, and Tiili Lauri. And together we are going to do the presentation. And next we are going to talk about the problem definition about our case company. So Lauri, if you could gently. Yes, thank you. So the problem definition that our case company is facing, it is our idea that the case company is facing the issue that they need to do a full digital transformation. So, and the next slide, please. And why do they need to do it? We have done two analysis ideas. Consumer behavior has changed. Consumers nowadays, they demand quite a lot of these tutorial videos. They want to use indoor digital playgrounds, and they want to use mobile apps for virtual product testing. And especially now these digital days, it's really important to understand your customer needs and wants in order to provide the best possible solution for your customer.
And the obvious other reason is that their competitors, they have done it already. So their competitors, they are using these new digital media solutions like YouTube videos. They are doing online communities, talking to their potential customers, and they are using these augmented reality applications. And one other thing that is coming really important in the market is the influencer marketing. And there are already some indie brands are also doing the influencer marketing as well, the big brands. So those things are really important. And next, we are going to talk about our analysis, and Sally will start talking to them. So Laura, if you could send the slide, and off you go, Sally.
Yeah, thanks, Vesa. So now we get to the analysis part with two main points or objectives to the digital transformation. So considering L'Oréal's digital transformation, there is a need to find better ways to connect with customers, as well as need to gather customer insights in an efficient manner. To digitally connect with customers, building more personal relationship is essential. It builds trust, fosters relevance and engagement, which is important feedback, which creates an online brand community. Communicating with customers also increases information exchange, which is important feedback for product innovation and development. L'Oréal should connect with customers more easily and readily via social media, and thus focus on this kind of in-the-moment customer experience management that the smaller brands are already doing. So the strengths for connecting with customers online is that by understanding and communicating with the customers, L'Oréal can create better product offerings, build trust and engagement, as well as increase their brand value for the current customers, as well as the fast and easy communication in social media also reaches and attracts new customers and enhances the overall customer experience. By having a deeper connection with customers, L'Oréal can retain current and possibly gain new market share. As the weaknesses, developing ways to digitally connect with customers requires consistent efforts, as the different actions take a lot of time and money. Also, it's hard to know in advance which are the most effective ways to connect with customers online. Naturally, these efforts also require developing and managing holistic customer relationship management program, which may prove to be challenging. And next, Lisbeth will talk about the next part of the analysis, gathering customer insights.
Thanks, Sally. So this is the second part about gathering customer insights. And so the reasons how important this is because L'Oréal could collect the right information about consumers' needs, but also about expectations and what customers want. And by gathering customer insights, it's important to think about reducing the time and the cost when collecting the data from consumers. And what's important for L'Oréal to remember is also to measure its success, and by choosing the right digital key performance indicators. And the strength of gathering customer insights for L'Oréal could be getting insights directly from consumers in the moment when they are using the products. Using video diaries is a very low cost and yet agile way of acquiring this data. And building insight communities is an excellent way to get feedback on a very prolonged and ongoing basis. The weaknesses, however, for L'Oréal is that at the moment, indie brands are connecting much faster with consumers, and they possess traits of what's known as as globals, and measuring digital KPIs could lead to for the company it is an uncharted water at the moment. So next is Lowry and George with the recommendations.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, based on those analyses that were discussed earlier on, we were thinking about also how to increase the share of wallet, and several different actions needs to be taken into account. So basically, as mentioned before, they need to develop a set of tools for marketers in local countries, and meaning local marketing locally. Obviously, the markets are different, but now once talking about USA, they need to have the set of KPIs and how to measure the digital campaigns. And also the collaborations with social media influencers, and obviously nowadays a lot of influencers and products are marketed via by using micro-influencers. So basically people with less followers but more active fan base, enabling them to connect with the potential customers, and also increase the use of video content and bloggers, so such as YouTube and other platforms, for example TikTok or whatever can be used. And also what is noticeable is that the increase of the marketing towards men. So L'Oréal is basically purely based on, the marketing actions are based on for ladies, but obviously there's a huge potential in the market that are in the market for men. George, now it's your turn.
Yes, thank you. So we propose for L'Oréal to create an application for smartphones where the customers can try on makeup and hair colors virtually using AR technology. This tool would allow you to try on makeup and hair color with no commitment or cost, so you can do it from your own sofa. Customers will be able to try hundreds of different shades from their sofa, and this would also include a way for customers to make a purchase via the application from their homes as well, which is largely used on many lines of businesses nowadays. This offers a lot of different collaborations, changes to L'Oréal as well. They could use Postmates, Amazon, basically any retailer in any country. And they could also include a customer review system into the application. Then L'Oréal would have access to customer insights too from the applications without the need for the customers to even purchase or order the product itself. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so I hope you were able to listen and watch the video without any technical difficulties. Let's now move to the discussion part. I want to invite everybody to please give some positive feedback first to this team. What did you like about their video presentation and the points that they have made? You can use the chat or Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say that something to start off is that they had very clear and a classy structure and outlook of the presentation. And they had their cameras open, which is always adding this a little more engaging part of the video.
Yes, thank you, Emmy. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the backgrounds and the pictures that they used, they showed a lot of attention and thought to the aesthetics of the presentation. And again, the videos of the speakers live, that was really helpful for engagement. Now I see some more comments here. Anna says they had creative ideas and good recommendations, also visually pleasing presentations. Thank you, Anna. And Lena says, I like the recommendation regarding the smartphone application and also using it as an online store. So right at the end, the last slide that George presented was about the VR app. So you like that. That's good. Taru says the ideas really improve engagement and brand image with L'Oreal. Yeah, very good. So, the context of the presentation is that it is Nima Gohil, who is the head of digital and consumer research. She's going to make a presentation to the board about the digital transformation strategy, right? So you have to make sure that your presentation is really slick, right? If you're presenting it at the board level, it has to be very appealing. And certainly you cannot substitute just style for substance, but it does help to make a good impression when you have good visuals and background and so on. So kudos to the team for doing that. Let's see, does anybody else have any positive comments? What did they do well? What did you like? Okay, then let's go on to the next part, which is if you were to offer them some constructive critique of things that could be improved, either on the substantive sense or in the presentation sense. Some substantive meaning the arguments they made regarding their analysis and recommendations. Any comments would be welcome now at this stage. Pankaj liked the flow of the presentation and the ideas. Okay, good. Any other comments? Okay, so while you're thinking about it, let me offer some of my own comments, and again I want them to be considered constructive. So I would like to share my screen again and point out a few things on specific slides, if I may. So let me go there. So first I want to take up the problem definition. Why does the company need to have a full digital transformation? And I want to ask everybody if you think this is the right formulation of the problem definition, or could it be refined or improved in any way? What do you think? Again, remember the context of the presentation is very important. This is a role play, right? The team is a team of consultants to Nima Gohil, right? So the problem has to be defined from the protagonist's point of view. So does Nima need to be convinced that the company needs to have a full digital transformation, or is that something she already knows? So is it the why question or is it the what question? I think if you were trying to be helpful to Nima, it should be formulated as, how does the company do the full digital transformation? Right? The question of why is not any more relevant to Nima because she knows why. The question is how to do it in a way that the board agrees with her. She has to persuade the board about the direction to go in. So It's a small semantic issue, but it has huge implications. I don't think the board needs to be convinced about it. They are the ones who believe in it, right? Let me see if you have any reactions to that in terms of the problem definition. Yeah, I see Pankaj has also written something. The question why is somewhat deeper or different than the context. Any other thoughts? Okay, let's move on. So here again, the problem definition continues to consumer behavior has changed and their competitors have done it already. Again, this is consistent with the why, but it's not consistent with the context, right? Nima knows that consumer behavior has changed and their competitors have done it already. You know, the bigger issue is how can you close the gap with competitors and what can you do to build better relationships. So again, this continues with the same issue that I brought up earlier. And then we see the second slide after the third slide after the problem definition is on actionable recommendations, and clearly there is a issue of whether that's the right one. Is it an analysis or is it recommendations? Because you have strengths and weaknesses here. Moreover, the next slide is about number 2, which is on analysis. So you see here alternative analysis, number 2. So the titles are not consistent across slides. I think even the earlier slide should be about alternative analysis instead of recommendations, right? The recommendations should follow the analysis so that the logic and the rationale is built around them. So that's what I would urge you to consider is consistency in the format. First is the problem definition, then comes the analysis of alternatives, and the third comes the actionable recommendations. So let me stop here and see if you have any reactions or any other comments to make. I really want you guys to develop that ability to comment positively and negatively, because that's what your skills will be when you go into the workplace. Lena, thank you for your comment. The recommendation and analysis slides were a bit heavy with a lot of text in quite a small font. So it made a bit hard to read and concentrate on both the speaking and the slides. Okay, that's a fair point. It's probably better to write less on the slides and speak more so that people are listening to the commentary more. What else? So let me go now to the recommendations, and I want to address this particular issue here. In order to increase the share of wallet, so the first thing is, if you are making a recommendation to increase something, should that be part of the problem definition? So that's where I think the problem definition should have a specific objective, which is a business objective. That is, either you want to increase share of wallet, or you want to, how to increase share of wallet could be part of the problem definition. Then this actionable recommendation addresses that. Right now, there is a disconnect between this recommendation and the problem definition. That's one point. And the second is, what does really share a wallet mean? That's a terminology I want to clarify. So let me ask anybody in the Zoom, what do you understand by share a wallet? And is that really what L'Oreal wants to increase? Or do they want to increase market share? What's the difference between market share and share a wallet? Anybody? No, nobody wants to answer just answer what is share of wallet. So typically in the marketing literature, when we talk of share of wallet, it's talking about existing customers, right? Your customers, let's say L'Oreal's hair care customers are buying products across many brands. Some from L'Oreal, some maybe from Maybelline and Revlon and so on and so forth. So if a customer is spending X euros a year on hair care products, then what percentage of that are they buying L'Oreal? That is called share of wallet on a per customer basis. And the thing with that is that the real objective of L'Oreal, or the case facts say that they want to preserve and grow market share? And market share is a different metric altogether. So if you only make your recommendation about share of wallet, then it's about focusing on existing customers. But if the overall business objective is to preserve and grow market share, then perhaps this recommendation is too narrow. So that is one of my comments there. Let's see if anybody else would like to add any constructive comments. Nothing? So in that same slide about share of wallet, there's this bullet point, sub-bullet point, develop a set of tools that marketeers in the countries and media directors can now use. So again, we have to remember the context, and what are Nima Gohel's responsibilities. She's a part of L'Oreal USA, so what is the product market that she is responsible for? It's hair care products in the USA. So maybe the recommendations on other countries are not going to be useful to her, right? Whenever you make any analysis or strategy, you have to define the product-market, product-market. Every marketing plan, the boundaries have to be drawn around the product-market. And so you have to be very clear. In this case, it's very clear that Nima Gohel's responsibilities are only for hair products and only in the USA. So all the recommendations should be relevant to that particular boundary. So those are all the comments that I had on this team's presentation. It was very slick, well done, but I hope you see some areas in which you may improve in the future. I want to ask anybody who has any closing thoughts on group number 4 to please step up and make their comments now. I don't see any comments, so then let me invite the members of team number 4 who may be here. Tell me how you react to any of the feedback that's been offered.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I did the problem definition part, and I really resonate with that. I have to be more in the shoes of Nina Kohil in this particular case. So I sort of mixed up these that I'm pitching to the wrong audience. So I really see that now that was the mistake that I made.
Very good, Vesa.
So I'll try to improve it in the final one.
Very good, very good. That's what it's all about. Is there's still one more case, Verily, and then you will also have to do the case in the final exam. So I appreciate your learning spirit in continuously improving over the next couple of assignments. Anybody else from the team would like to comment on the feedback that they have heard? Okay, so we'll close out the presentation for team number 4, and now we'll go to group number 5, and I'll just share and review. Let's listen to their video and then come back for a discussion. And again, please let me know if you're not able to see or hear the video properly.
Is it recording? Now. So hello, we are Team 5 and we will be presenting the case L'Oreal USA. And here we have Taru, Zoe, Maria and Wilhelmina. So first I will present some introduction to the company. So L'Oreal is one of the biggest cosmetics companies in the whole world, and they offer multiple products from hair care to makeup and also some nail products. And L'Oreal was founded in 1909 in France, and it has since grown into a massive global enterprise. In this case study, we are focusing on L'Oreal USA, which was a wholly owned subsidiary of L'Oreal SA. And L'Oreal also has shares in multiple brands in the beauty and fashion industry, and these include, for example, Redken, Garnier, Ralph Lauren, and Maybelline New York.
So, how to better connect to customers and maintain and also gain market share? As we know, social media is currently the fastest platform for information dissemination. L'Oreal needs to increase its exposure more in social media, which has more active users. Also, it's really important to respond to customers from these platforms, especially the negative comments. These are the opportunities to turn bad engagement into good ones. Fostering an active customer community is also an amazing way to be connected with customers and inspire loyalty, supporting the brand to get a sense of how customers feel and what needs to be improved or revealed. Except tracking competitors' events or detect competitors' strategies. One critical point for L'Oreal is to stay up to date on trends and innovations in the sector. Also, to gain the market share, L'Oreal should identify key topics and trends in the market, as well as those exchanged by customers, enable to understand current and future trends, customers' expectations, and the strategies of competitors. Then the company would be able to adapt content to customer expectations, but also create content about the emerging subjects in order to adopt a unique position before competitors come. Yes.
There are a few threats arising for L'Oreal in the market that need to be addressed. First of all, indie brands have entered the market since digital channels have lowered the barriers of entry. They have established themselves in the market by building personal relationships with their customers by leveraging the benefits of social media. They are utilizing collaboration with influencers, and they are agile to respond to customer needs. They are built around a digital strategy and are using it efficiently as a way of doing business. Big brands need to adjust and develop strategies to come closer to the customer and reach the digital level of these new digi-native brands. Also, capturing, tracking, and managing customer relationships is key in the digital world. Understanding target consumers and the relationships online, as well as the segments with similar needs, is key in competing with other players, such as the indie brands in the industry. Lastly, competitors are also effectively using different digital media, such as YouTube, online communities, and augmented reality applications. The majority of consumers turn to social media networks before making a purchase, and they trust influencers more than the traditional celebrities. Social media influencers have a great power to encourage consumers to switch brands, and this needs to be utilized. With creative own content, the benefits of social media can be accessed, and it can be used to create meaningful content and engage with the consumers directly.
So what do we then recommend for L'Oreal to do in order to compete with these indie brands and keep their market share? So first, what we thought was a social media strategy. So they have to build or create different social media channels, Instagram, YouTube, in order to reach their target audience. And in also the consistent content, posting consistent content and interesting content is also super important for the younger target group. So for example, interesting or funny content about the product, the customer experience, and the hair care videos will get the younger people's attention. And then the second approach that we thought was influencer marketing. So in order for target brand awareness, we thought that the influencer marketing would be a great way to do so. So first we would use 1 to 2 large influencers, which has a wider following. So we would reach a wider audience. And then we would use 1 to 5 niche influencers to connect and answer to the customer questions. So they would have more time to answer the customer concerns and questions about the product, and then use normal customers, normal product users to build trustworthy message and trustworthy relationship with L'Oreal and between the L'Oreal and the customers. And then how we would measure our marketing strategy is by reporting views and the engagement rate of the influencers, as well as check and control the click-through rate. So how many clicks each post gets, and how the customer journey to the L'Oreal's website and the purchasing will go. So the next one, please.
So after applying these strategies, obviously there will be strength and weakness of all the solutions. So after these strategies, the strength, companies are like easily and quickly to enter any country's market and to promoting the products and the services through this social media. It is a positive company to identify segments with the best potential, expectations of customers, and which channels they use to express themselves. And then it's benefit for the L'Oreal to sharpening the social media marketing and increase customer engagement. And it's the better way to understand target audience and customers through the customer profiling. And all in all, in the end, benefit the L'Oreal brand valuable and meaningful.
Yeah, and then to the weaknesses. So we thought that since it's a social media strategy and influencer marketing strategy, it's difficult to say and guarantee the results and the measure if we really hit our KPIs. Also, since it's a social media, there's a lot of negative comments about the products, and those will spread quickly. It's also quite costly and time consuming to build a good strategy, social media strategy, and then also the trends in social media change super rapidly. So L'Oreal has to be quite quick to make those changes in their product and in their social media marketing. And the next one. And yeah, thank you everyone for your attention and listening. And please, if there is any questions, we would have a pleasure to answer those. Thank you.
Okay, so we've reviewed group number 5's video. Now let's get to the discussion. So I see a comment from Lena. I wonder if this is applicable to group number 5 or group number 4. Could you please let us know, Lena? I see a comment which I didn't see before. Is that for group 4 or group 5? Oh, I think we did. It's an old comment for group 5. Okay, thank you. But the first group was group 4. This is group 5 that we just reviewed. All right, let's go to, group 4. Okay. So we are done with group 4. Now let's throw it open for any positive comments on group 5's presentation. What did you like? What impressed you? Both in terms of content as well as the style. You can use the chat box or you can speak in the mic. Tommy says it was good that they had been thinking the number of influencers more specifically from both larger and smaller influencers. Okay, so Tommy likes that you took a deeper dive into influencer marketing and segmented the influencers. That's good. Other positive comments? Anna says the presentation was clear and looked good. The slides did not have too much text and focused more on saying in their own words. Yes, thank you, Anna, for your observation. I think the real strength of this team's presentation was that they had very little by way of bullet points, and then the commentary, it amplified the bullet points. So that shows how well prepared the presenters were. They were just not reading the bullet points, but they had their own scripts which added a lot. That is better for engagement. Maria says, the problem definition was good in my opinion. Yes, thank you. This was absolutely on target, where they talked about maintaining and growing market share, right? If I can just go back to that. Yeah, let's take a quick look at that slide. So they've got both aspects. They've got the quantitative, which is how to maintain and gain market share, and then they've got the qualitative, how to better connect to customers. So this was a comprehensive and on point. This is what Nima Gohil wants to get across to the board. See, the board has to approve the strategy, right? And therefore they just don't want to look at only the how to's, they want to see the outcome. And that's where the maintaining or gaining of market share, that really sounds like music to their ears. So if you only talk about the strategy at the qualitative level, we'll do this, we'll do that, but you don't relate it to the business outcome, then it is less persuasive. So good job. Petri says the visual style is aligned with L'Oreal's look. Okay, very good. So again, aesthetically pleasing, right? The presentation has to be consistent with the brand, premium, high end, right? So this was good. The second slide was crisp and clear, captured the problem quite well. Yeah. And again, I liked that there were embedded videos of the speakers, and somehow your pictures were all very clear and crisp. So maybe you are using better cameras, but clearly that came out. The one, okay, first let me read all the other comments as well. Let's have some more positive comments. Okay, I don't see any more. So now let's go to the critique part. What are the things that you might recommend to group number 5 that they could improve upon, either in terms of the content or the presentation style? So while we're waiting for people to type their responses, I would suggest that the team in future, to improve your video marketing skills, you have to learn to get into some editing program. Okay. Remember at the beginning, Taru asks, is this recording or not? Right? That initial snippet could be edited out. And there are lots of programs nowadays where you can do simple types of editing. I use one called Snagit, and then there's Camtasia. So there are now many types of programs that you can do some editing. And the other piece of editing that I would recommend is, it's great that you have the speakers, right? But for an audience like this, where we may not know each other, especially for me, it would be nice to have the names of the speakers in text along with their embedded video, and that can be inserted with an editing program. So those are some simple things that I would advocate. We all know that video marketing is the new PowerPoint, and it's an essential skill. That's why we've built it into this course. And so the next step for those of you who haven't got into, it's easy to do a Zoom recording, but the next step may be to consider learning about how to do simple edits on videos. Okay, now we have another comment from Lena. There were good and thorough recommendations, but I would have liked more details. Okay. Now, in terms of the structure, we all liked, let me go through a few things slide by slide. So this was a good formulation of the problem, right? And the second slide was called current situation, if I remember. So, this is also a continuation of the problem definition, in my opinion, right? There's the threat of indie brands, the challenges in the CRM, right? How to utilize the digital media better. So, maybe you could have titled this slide as a continuation of the or an elaboration of the problem definition itself, right? So that's one suggestion I would make here. And then after this, what's the third slide? The third slide gets into recommendations, and then the analysis comes later.
Audience and in also the
Sorry. So let's look at what comes after recommendations. Yeah, now you're doing the strengths and weaknesses. This is really quite a weak analysis because it's talking about the whole business in general, right? What you need to do is before you make these recommendations, you've got to do strengths and weaknesses of the social media strategy, strengths and weaknesses of influencer marketing, strengths and weaknesses of the marketing strategy, and then make the recommendations, because then you've built on a foundation of having analyzed each alternative. The analysis of the company or business is really not necessary because you're making this presentation to the board. Nima Gohil, you're either making it to Nima Gohil or you're making it to the board. And in this case, they all know about the strengths and weaknesses of the company. What they want to know is your proposal or your solutions that you propose. Are they worth considering or not? So I would present those as alternatives. Social media and influencer marketing are alternatives to making relationships with connecting with customers, right? Social media is going directly to customers and influencer marketing is going through influencers. So one is more direct to consumer, the other is kind of indirect through influencers, and they have pros and cons, right? You discuss the pros and cons, and then maybe you say we will do a combination of both in your recommendation. So the recommendation has to be a final something that you have a position on and that you believe will work in the future, and the analysis has to support that. So that way I would recommend a little more structuring on the presentation itself. Let's go back to the chat. Emmy says, doesn't affect delivering the message, but make sure to put your... Yes, thank you, Emmy. I made a note of that as well. There were some pings in the presentation a couple of times. So somebody's phone was on and receiving messages. So thank you, Emmy, for pointing that out. It's a matter of small attention to detail, but it's important. And then Ate says, I enjoyed the general flow of the presentation and the layout. Enough blank or negative space made it easy to follow. Yes, very good. Keep it simple, keep it more in the commentary than in the text. Okay, let's see if anybody else has any comments or critique for this team. Yeah, again, I see that the strengths and weaknesses of solutions is the second last slide before the thank you. You want to end on a very uh, proactive, positive note. That's where the recommendations will help to, have the most impact. So remember, problem definition up front, analysis of solutions in the middle, and then recommendations at the end. This makes, in at least in my experience, a more persuasive presentation. I don't see any more comments from the class members, so let me now ask team number two, I'm sorry, group number five's members, if you are present, what is your reaction to any of the feedback that you've received?
Hi, I guess I'm the only one present from our group, and thank you everyone for your comments. I definitely agree on the recommendations and will tell that to the other group members, and we will definitely take them into account in the future. And I think they were good points that we hadn't noticed ourselves.
Thank you very much, Aru. Now we will go to group number six's presentation. And for that, let me go here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now for the third presentation.
This is group number 6 for the L'Oreal case. My name is Rosa, and today I'm presenting with Caroline and Emmy. To start off with the problem definition, we recognize from the L'Oreal case that the company was struggling to find new technologies and platforms to match their needs for a data-driven marketing strategy. L'Oreal was in a state where they had almost unmatched access to resources, but no plan on how to develop new customer-centric strategy that could combine social media platforms, technology, the shift in the anthropology of the products, and the need of data. Already looking at the future, L'Oreal realized that they needed more data from their customers, as well as ways to make customer recommendations part of their social media strategy, and to build digital tools so that their customers could make better decisions already before purchasing. So the problem was twofolded. First, how to deepen and develop new customer relationships through digital platforms, where influencers are the gatekeepers of big products, and where brands can't always manage the conversation. And second, how L'Oreal could develop online purchasing and become data-driven in their own decision-making. What has driven this change is the anthropologic change of the products and the environment we are consuming. The way we use social media changes all the time, so for companies like L'Oreal, it is important to monitor these changes and try to forecast how these platforms and technologies develop. By understanding how their customers are buying, using, and evaluating the products, L'Oreal could potentially make better acquisitions and brand or product launches in the future. Over to you, Caroline.
As a group, we did the analysis of L'Oreal by evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of the company. First of all, the L'Oreal brand itself and its history make a huge strength for the company, which is not a surprise as L'Oreal has almost unmatched amount of resources globally. Even today, L'Oreal brands have been named most most powerful and valuable brands in the beauty industry. Another strength is that the company knows the importance of the data to fully understand its target customer. For instance, L'Oreal is a brand that knows how consumers' behavior affects the marketing of the product. In addition to this, at the moment there is a great potential in the digital marketplace as 86% of women turn to social media before making a purchase. It is a great strength for L'Oreal as well that the new leadership of the company understands the value in social media and its influencers. This helps the company to be more agile and engage with its consumers. On the other hand, one of the weaknesses of the analysis is the fact that the competition is intense. There are other both large brands operating in the market and numerous small businesses as well. The company needs to separate their cosmetics from others in every way possible. In the end of the day, the raw materials are identical to others. The key is to find what makes L'Oreal superior compared to the competition. Another weakness of the analysis is that the social media comes and goes. What is in today might not be tomorrow. Companies need to be extremely agile to stay competitive, and this applies in the case of L'Oreal as well. It is pretty clear that L'Oreal should invest more money in automatization and in digitalization. There is also big data to be looked at, as making sense of the data you collect, you can enhance your company's products accordingly. In the case of L'Oreal, data collection and using it should be as efficient as possible. When companies have applied different tools to handle customer and product data, they can target their customers better and make huge financial savings in the company investments. One actionable recommendation for L'Oreal is the L'Oreal app targeted to the end consumers. As L'Oreal already has this Makeup Genius app where you try on makeup virtually, we see a huge potential to elaborate this more and create the app as a platform for a L'Oreal brand community. For instance, the L'Oreal app would have following features. First of all, the possibility to try makeup before purchasing the actual products. This would include a face scan feature. The face scan feature would not only be in the application, but also in stores to engage customers to try and buy the products in both online and in stores on different iPads or TV screens. In other words, the app would provide an omnichannel face scan feature. One of the biggest goals of the app is to engage with customers, and this would be done via personalized product recommendations, promotion codes, competitions to win products, or different L'Oreal makeovers with professionals in various beauty events. In addition to this, a L'Oreal chat with professional makeup artists and hair professionals would be one of the main services of the app, which would give important customer insights of the end consumers and might positively increase L'Oreal's customer service and product reviews for the future. All in all, the app would be a vital way for L'Oreal to collect data for future product development and marketing campaigns. Another actionable recommendation is to have an omnichannel influencer marketing program for each L'Oreal brand to increase the level of knowledge of the different brands and products within the customers. Even though they have one already, they should have various levels to this. For instance, there is a value in A-tier vloggers as well as smaller local influencers, especially when targeting specific markets. In the influencer marketing program, each influencer would be picked based on each L'Oreal's brand's identity to target different customer groups, for instance, from high-end and etc. To support the influencer program, L'Oreal would have an app for influencer management. This would help the brands under L'Oreal to follow up different campaigns and help with the data collection, and at the same time the app would help influencers to manage and create campaigns through on L'Oreal app.
Thank you, Caroline. My name is Emmy, and I will continue a little with our recommendations and then conclude our presentation to highlight the points you should keep in mind after this. L'Oreal should strengthen their position with younger generations and strategically engage with the generation Z, which means people born between 1997 and 2012. This could be done, for example, through TikTok, which nowadays is even more popular than Instagram with younger generations. TikTok would allow L'Oreal to create short video clips and maybe use trending audios together with TikTok influencers, which would help videos to spread among users. We have also seen some valuable insights from live shopping events that are held via Instagram. The concept works in a way that company, most often clothing stores, invite an influencer to have a shopping session that is going to be live streamed for the followers on Instagram. And in the end of this live shopping, they will usually gift audience, for example, with discount code. This can be modified for L'Oreal as well rather easily and invite beauty influencers for their live shopping to try the makeup and skincare from the latest trends. We also see that the partnership with Meta, that is former Facebook, would be a major opportunity for L'Oreal. At the moment, Meta is developing a metaverse that is never seen before. They are planning to have these 3D spaces that users are able to visit with VR glasses. This could offer a new kind of cooperation to see and experience products with augmented and virtual reality. This kind of technology used in marketing would also enable marketing automation that would ease the work of traditional marketeers. L'Oreal would, for example, have a showroom or a makeup lounge in Metaverse, and users could experience shopping through that, maybe even with influencers in the same virtual premises. There is also a social point of view that is very important. Shopping virtually would offer a safe place to embrace oneself and touch of real life mixed with virtuality, rather than going to an actual store. For some people, it might be difficult to go to an actual store, perhaps due to expectations and pressure placed by society or one's mental or physical well-being. And when that's preventing pleasant shopping session, this augmented reality and virtual reality could offer a solution for that. So, to conclude our thoughts, L'Oreal should begin an influencer program to increase the level of knowledge within the customers. Even though they have one already, they should have levels to this. There is value in A-tier vloggers as well as smaller local influencers, especially when targeting specific markets. The app lets you try on the makeup before purchasing it, and that is a great concept. Enhancing this and making people know that a service like this is available would be excellent. L'Oreal should aim at newer social media platforms, such as marketing through TikTok influencers instead of only with traditional vloggers and other beauty YouTubers. L'Oreal should invest more money in automatization and social media personnel. There is also big data to be looked at. When you can make sense of the data you collect, you can enhance your products accordingly. And at last, AR and VR enables new experiences for L'Oreal to support all kinds of needs to achieve the full shopping experience. The aforementioned highlights conclude our presentation. Thank you for following.
Okay, so I hope that video was, you could view it without any technical glitches. Now let's get to the question of what did you like about this presentation? Let's give them some positive comments. Taru says the app and personalized recommendations was a very good idea, as well as the possibility to chat with professionals via the app. Also, addressing customers of different age separately was a nice touch. Yeah, so the team did recommend targeting Gen Z, which was different focus, younger age group. So that was, a bold recommendation. Tommy says, here there was good listing of facts to back up the decisions, and the board usually likes facts about why they need to do this transformation. The presentation overall was very clear and punctual. Actually, all the presentations kept within the 15-minute timeline, so all were punctual. I also like the details about actionable recommendations. Thank you, Tommy. And Lena says, I like how thorough and detailed your recommendations were. A nice and clear presentation with clear audio. Right. So, certainly it was very clear and crisp. Everything went through in terms of the audio and video. So, it was a compact package and it did the needful. So good job on that. Now we can go to some constructive comments. What would you suggest that the group could improve both in terms of content and presentation? Yeah, so going to Lena's comment, second comment, I think at the time of this case, Meta and Metaverse was still not talked about or even existing. So that is a bit of the case environment, even though it would be a good idea today. Yeah, so this is a good point for group 6 to remember that the case was written ending in 2015 or 2016, and therefore you have to transport yourself back in time to that because you are advising the protagonist at that point of time. So it's quite irrelevant to bring in things that did not exist at that time. But even more important than that is the the recommendation on the metaverse itself. Do we even know how long it will take to materialize? If it's still at such a conceptual stage, we have to be very careful about the hype the media creates about all these new technologies. It's going to take Facebook at least $10 billion and 10 years to build this out. So then the recommendation is not actionable, not at that time, not even today. So, avoid getting into this trap of using buzzwords just because it's, very much talked about it in the media. The board won't buy it if they know their industry and they know their business. Pretty much everybody knows that it will take a long time for metaverse to get to the state of the internet the way we know it today. Let's go to Anna's comments. Of course, you cannot change the way you naturally talk, but sometimes the presentation sounded too much that it was being read straight from a paper or a screen. Also, the recommendations focus too much on current trends like Meta and TikTok, which were not a thing in 2015, 2016. Thank you, Anna. So the second point we've already addressed about Meta and TikTok, but let's revisit this. You know, this is where some embedded video of the speakers would have really helped. You know, right now it was just a voiceover, and so we couldn't see the face, we couldn't see any lip movement, right? So it seemed very canned and it goes through very fast. I think we all agree that, you know, having embedded video is is more engaging, but for whatever time and resource constraints the group may have had, they are not able to do it. What I'd like though is for the group numbers 4 and 5 which had embedded video, tell us, how did you do it? Was it a simple Zoom recording or did you use any other software? That may be useful to group number 6 going forward. So if there are any members of group number 4 or group number 5 present in Zoom now, can you tell us what software you use to do your recording so that group number 6 can maybe know what are the alternatives in addition to a straight slideshow and a voiceover?
We use just Teams recording, but Zoom works as well.
Okay, so Teams recording. Microsoft Teams is an alternative to Zoom, and both of them have recording capabilities. So maybe, and it's easily available to students. So maybe in the next time group number 6 could consider using those, and it would make the video more engaging. Okay, let's go on to any more comments. Maybe now we turn to the more constructive, critique. What is it that they could improve? We've already touched upon some of the presentation aspects, but in terms of the substantive content, is there something that we could offer them in terms of improving the next time? Okay, let me start off by going to some slides. So this problem definition is okay, how to deepen customer relationships and develop new methods of collecting and analyzing consumer insights. I would try to relate it more to the overall business purpose, like, is it to maintain and grow market share? That's why you want to develop customer relationships, or the new methods of collecting and analyzing consumer insights, they should be taking less cost and less time. I think those are two facts that the case mentions clearly. You want to use the digital platforms for consumer insights because it should lead to lower cost and faster feedback. So in that way, this could be perhaps refined a little more. Right. So now you're talking about developing a new strategy and you're providing the reason. That's fine. But remember, then you have to address what are the different alternative strategies, right? And then analyze their strengths and weaknesses. So again, this this analysis is not very useful because it's at the level of the whole business. And what we're interested is in the analysis of alternative solutions. What are their strengths and weaknesses? So For example, one of the key points in your recommendations, which somebody noted earlier in the chat, is that you made a bold recommendation on Gen Z, targeting Gen Z. Well, what are the alternatives, and can you make a case why they should target Gen Z in preference to the millennials, right? So the strengths and weaknesses of each target market need to be summarized before the recommendation. That would have been a more useful analysis to persuade the board. So all this, the weaknesses, this is known to Nima Gohil as well as the board. So there's little point in presenting this kind of a general analysis. I did notice some issue of timing in sync between the slide and the commentary. Like, I think the slide changed too fast to the next actionable recommendation after this, but the speaker was still talking about this particular slide. So somehow there was a lack of coordination between which slide the speaker was on and the commentary. Notice you're talking about the app, the possibility to try makeup before purchasing. This is a small point, but Nima Gohil's responsibilities do not include makeup. They are only for hair care products. So you could have just said to try hair care products before purchasing, but it shows attention to detail. I told you about the boundaries of the product market. Nima Gohil is the digital and consumer insights head for hair products in the US. So any recommendations outside of that are not relevant. She will not be presenting things on makeup or perfume. She will only restrict her presentation to hair products. So that's something you should keep in mind. I think the idea of going into omni channels is good, but again, if this is a major recommendation, how is it different from what they are doing currently, and what are the pros and cons of each of those approaches? That needs to be analyzed to make this persuasive case on omni channel influencer marketing. So we've already talked about recommendations have to be relevant to the time frame of the case. And here perhaps, there's too much text. Maybe it should have just been a bullet point and then everything else could be read in the commentary. Otherwise it looks pretty cluttered, and since this is the end of the presentation, you want to leave the biggest points with the most impact. This last point is something I think is a very good one. L'Oreal should invest more money in automation and automatization and social media personnel. This takes into account the context of the presentation. This is perhaps the only group out of the 3 videos which talks about budget. When you're presenting to the board, sure, you want to persuade them that your digital transformation strategy is a good one, is likely to succeed. But remember that another important aspect of any board presentation is to ask for budgets and money. And that has to be clearly one of the asks in a presentation. You're making all these recommendations about social media and influencer marketing and giving them more incentives and investing in new social media technology and so on. you have to ask for increased budget. And this particular case had some interesting benchmarks on budget. It says, for example, that all of digital advertising is only 19% of the overall advertising budget of L'Oreal USA, and that 30% of all sales are online sales. So, you could make bold recommendations like we now ask for a percentage of the digital budget compared to the entire advertising budget as maybe 20% for the next year, 1% increase. And we hope that we will be able to deliver an increase in, online sales percentage from 30% to 35% or something like that. You have to always, the board has to, what is their sweet spot is the return on investment. So you're asking for approval of the strategy, but you're also asking for budget, and then the board needs to connect those two with outcomes in terms of performance or return on investment. So I'll stop there and go back to the chat here. Pankaj says, many groups use the phrase strengths and weaknesses of analysis. My understanding is we do the analysis, develop recommendations, and then reflect on the recommendations. Yes, that's right, Pankaj. You first define the problem, then you must suggest some solutions to the problem, alternative ways. For example, if here the problem is on connecting with customers, how to develop better relationships, then social media is one possibility and influencer marketing is another possibility. So what are the pros and cons of each? And then maybe you recommend that you will combine both of them, and then you go into some details on feasibility. Where will you invest? How much do you need? Make bold recommendations about that. So Pankaj, you're on the right track. That's the way that I think, upper management gets persuaded. Okay, let's see if there are any closing thoughts anybody has on Group 6's presentation. So now I want to give an opportunity if there are any team members in Group 6. Would you like to react to any of the feedback that's been provided? Riku, Rusa, Atte, Caroline, Emmy. Any of them are here? It looks like there's nobody from group number 6 here. That's a bit disappointing to me because, there was so much of good feedback that they could learn from in terms of future presentations, but they choose not to be here. I had another question for this team. How come only the 3 ladies presented? Rusa, Caroline and Emmy presented, but Atte did not. So I was curious why. My expectation is that everybody will take part in the presentation and everybody will write the case memo. So again, it looks like this particular group is quite indifferent to getting any useful feedback. And then you wonder what, some people in the class are just going through the motions. and you wonder what they're getting out of it. Okay, so we still have some time left. I want to give a chance for anybody else. You've all written memos, right? Even if you didn't do the 3 presentations, people wrote memos. So, what are the unique aspects of your memos that perhaps may not have been covered in any of these group presentations? Let's have a discussion on that aspect. Let's hear about all kinds of problem definitions or alternative solutions and recommendations that are interesting and different from the things that we've seen so far. So let's go to that. I invite anybody to participate in this part. Again, just to repeat my question, the floor is now open to bring up any points about your case memos that are different than what has been covered so far by group 4, 5 and 6's video presentations today. Lena says, I think my group went deeper into the KPIs than the presenting groups. We saw it as one of the key problems in the L'Oreal case. Yes, thank you, Lena. I think, for the board, the KPIs are very key because they want to see what success looks like before they approve anything. But can you just give us a sense of what some of the deeper KPIs may have been? Just give an example if you would.
I don't actually remember them like this, but I think whole my group is here present. So if anyone in my group remembers any more details of the suggested KPIs.
I can quickly share the screen if you.
Yeah, go
Ina,
ahead.
you can continue speaking. I'll just share the screen. I don't find the share button here.
I have to make you a co-host, I think.
Oh, then it's okay. I can just read. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So one was the customer acquisition cost.
Mm-hmm.
Second KPI was the click-through rate. Then number of visitors and number of unique visitors. Conversion rate. Monthly active users on the Beauty Babble app and other social media platforms. Actually, we divided the KPIs into 2 broad categories. One were the engagement KPIs and so measuring scale, active usage and engagement. And then within measuring scale, we had some KPIs. Within active usage, we had some KPIs. And within engagement, we had some KPIs.
So what are the 3 categories of KPIs? You said engagement was one?
Active usage and scale.
Scale, okay. Yeah, very good. So you're taking into account scale, usage and engagement. But usage and engagement are different?
I think what we mean here by engagement is number of shares, likes, comments, and maybe if they are buying the product. I'm thinking top of my head right now. I'm not actually reading the document, but
that's fine. That's fine.
And with usage, we essentially mean the number of visitors, unique visitors, website traffic, and then how many like ad clicks end up into purchase.
Right. Very good. I'm glad that you got into that detail. The one thing I would also encourage is KPIs at the business performance level, right? So you have all these analytics KPIs which you've mentioned, but what about things like, if you've defined in your problem market share or any, things about scale concretely, number of, is there any objective to grow and get a certain number of influencers, then what's those kind of KPIs for the whole business? Like, we want to get so much X amount of market share, right? So you can compare it against your actuals. So in
Like one
addition,
of
yeah, go ahead.
in just that the position of Nima Gohil was specific to the customer research. I don't remember the exact title, but it was uh, so we kind of thought of her KPIs in the realm of her her doing her customer research and not really the financial.
Yeah.
But Ina and Tommy and Anna can correct me, but that's how I think we were thinking, that her role was not driving the sales, but driving the customer research. And
Yeah, that's true. But again, she's presenting to the board of the whole business. So
that's also true. Yeah.
that may be another angle to think of. Very good. Let's go to Tommy. I don't know if anyone covered the rising customer segment of men. I think one of the groups, maybe it was, I remember one of the groups did talk about men, but let's look at the comment. And the trend of men taking more care of their skin and hair than before, and they might need different marketing, including different influencers. So, yeah, Tommy, I'm glad you brought this up. This was certainly suggested very briefly in the case, and any group is free to pursue that, but then remember that you have to analyze the pros and cons, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of data in the case on the men segment. So any team that makes a recommendation, it can't just be top of the mind, just make the recommendation, but if you're presenting to the board, then you must have some backup in terms of logic and theory and some statistics and data, right? So, just like I said, for Gen Z, that's a bold recommendation to focus on Gen Z, but these are targeting decisions which must be backed up. No business and no company will want to zigzag changing its targets unless it is something that can be durable for a long period of time. So it's a good idea, Tommy, but it needs to be backed up. What else? Anybody else has any other issues that were in their memos that you might like to bring up? Or we can go widely to any other issues that you found interesting in the case. Maybe nobody wrote about it or nobody presented about it. But what were some things that you may have found either more interesting or a little bit confusing that we can clarify?
I think the problem of the case is still not clear to me. Like, I understand the whole story and the context, but like when you say she's presenting to the board, exactly with what decision she is going to the board, or what she's expecting from the board. Is she asking for money? Is she asking for resources? It's not quite
Yeah. So
clear.
good. Thank you. Thank you for being candid in your question. It requires some understanding of marketing planning cycles within organizations. So typically, in all well-established companies, marketing planning is done a year in advance. So right now we are in November of 2021. Most of the plans have already been approved for those financial years starting January 1st, 2022. They would have started planning in January of 2021, and all of these processes are internal to companies where somebody at some level has to write a marketing plan. What do they wish to do for the next year? Okay. And typically the marketing plan has to address the problems that the business is facing, right? It has to propose some alternatives and make some recommendations. So, although it was not explicit in the case, that is the context, that every person, whatever their title within marketing, will have to contribute to a marketing plan for a specific product-market. And in Nima Gohil's case, that product market is hair products, hair care products for the USA. So she, and it's clear from the directions of, when she was hired and all the people on the board, that they've decided to go in for a digital transformation, right? Because consumers want it and they are lagging behind competitors. So her presentation is all about saying, how are we going to do this digital transformation? How is it going to help us reach our business objectives? And it can't happen with zero investment. So this is the budget that I'm requesting for the year. That is the entire process of marketing planning. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it is clearer now, I think, because like there was and I was thinking along those lines, because it seemed that okay, social media is there, and but it's not like they are making this whole transformation. It's just one part of a larger company, like a small decision making process of how much they need to invest. So it's not like some fundamental transformatory process, but it's like a routine thing. Yeah,
the process is routine, but the suggestions have to come from the ground up.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Let's see if anybody else has any things that they were curious about, any aspect of the case or anything we can clear up. So you're right, most of the things there are already in existence. They have a Beauty Babble program, they have some social media, they have dabbled in so many digital initiatives, but every year you have to stretch yourself. What are we going to do different, better to reach some higher objective? Because every company wants to grow and they want to get more market share than their competition. And so it's a never ending cycle of iteration. Even if you have some things in place, you want to do things better. Why? Because the trend is more towards digital e-commerce and m-commerce, and it requires investments in technology, and traditionally marketing people don't have those. The conventional marketing did not teach us those kinds of knowledge and skills, so we need to know some new things. That's why Nima has been hired from the outside. She was working in a market research company and now she's brought into L'Oreal. She also enjoys some goodwill being new. They've hired her with some hopes and expectations, so the board will be more receptive to her requests, but they have to exercise their oversight and their wisdom in the beauty business, which she may or may not be that much aware of. Any other closing thoughts on the case? Okay, then again, I will evaluate and give you feedback, written feedback, which you will get very soon, maybe by morning. And then you can prepare the final case, very different, verily life sciences on, healthcare and AI, but it should be interesting. So thank you all for your active participation in this online Zoom session. Good night, and I'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
Sir, sorry.
Yes?
I would have actually a question about the next case study.
Yes.
If that's okay.
Yes, please.
It's we were discussing in my team because the next case study, the format is a little bit different, right? At the end, they rather than telling us the problems in this case throughout the case study, they are listed at the very end, and
No,
then afterwards.
actually, I'm glad you brought it up. Those questions are irrelevant. You should follow the same format as the case memo: problem definition, analysis of alternative solutions, and recommendations.
Right. Okay.
You do not have to address the questions at the end of the case.
Right. All right. Okay. But there is just before those questions, before those very specific tasks, there is basically there is a bunch of problems listed. Would it be okay to use those in the problem statement?
If you think they make sense, you can use them.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That's all for me.
Just because it is in the case doesn't mean that it's everything. You might have some other problems that are not written there.
I don't know. While I was reading the case, I was really glad that they listed this at the end because me personally, I just while reading it didn't see a lot of problems there. So my group was focusing on that, but I think we'll have another talk to see if there is something else we can add.
Okay, very good, Julia. Look forward to your memo or presentation on the next case.
Yes, we'll actually be presenting. So
okay.
All right. Thank
Good
you.
luck. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I'll see you back here soon. Bye.